well, we were back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and I was talking about this guy the other day, and I kind of just wanted to do a little bit of a highlight video of what makes him so powerful. It's because I think what happens is when you're talking about, you know, someone like Ichigo, you know, White Ichigo, you tend to get a lot of sort of misunderstanding power in the case of like synergy or just like raw mechanics. Essentially what people mean to say is White Ichigo is strong because he does the most damage, and I'd like to sort of dispel that as sort of like an idea, because it's not really the point of talking about White Ichigo. And to a lot of people out there who have him, and maybe to those who don't, who maybe just joined during 2IBW, I get why it would sort of be hard to understand this. You know what I mean? It's just like when you compare, I didn't need to leave there. When you compare rotations, you know, it becomes pretty obvious, right? It's like an Aizen B0 rotation just looks like shit, if I can just be so coarse as to say. A B0 Aizen rotation simply looks like shit, right? Like, there's nothing there that looks particularly, like, appealing if you're, you know, really pressed to, you know, just review sort of the optics. And I know a lot of people could say, well, yeah, that's why we have, like, boundaries, but I would argue, and I've been arguing for the last few days, that boundaries shouldn't really define the mechanical strength of characters, because it's not really the conversation being had, right? So by comparison, I don't have boundaries in my Aizen, and I also don't have boundaries in my White Ichigo. I literally do not have a boundary in that character, right? And comparatively, you know, it's a complete wash. Like, you look at stuff like this, and you start to realize that what's happening here isn't just mechanical power, right? Like, nothing I just did, or isn't just like damage. Like, nothing I'm doing here has to do with his damage, right? Like, that swapping just now, that ability to enable a character that he is not even supporting, like, you know, Bambietta, has nothing to do with dupes, and it has nothing to do with even a specific sort of synergy, right? And even if once we start going to like stuff like this, right, where it's like, you know, we move him around in and out, it's like, is it impressive that he can do this amount of damage? Of course. Like, is it nice that he can do damage? You know, I mean, obviously, right? But it's not the point. You know what I mean? You start doing stuff like that, and you start realizing how much of a like soap it becomes. I mean, famously, I've always said, you know, if Ulquieta had this team, he'd be a much nicer character to run, right? Like, it's just one of those things where, like, no one really doesn't benefit from White Ichigo, and that's a greater point, is that it's a mechanical thing that he has that is notable. It's not purely based on, oh, you know, this character who just happened to do, you know, the most damage or whatever, right? Like, this is a different thing that is happening. Like, this is invaluable. What he does, what he does is just valuable. Look how it just gives even characters like Ulquieta so much time to essentially just do whatever they want, right? And the only character you can really compare this to, by the way, is Soifon, who, you know, of course, is a powerhouse in her own regard. And then, you know, you get stuff like this, and you do stuff like this, and then, you know, obviously you just switch out. You could go into Ulquieta, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's all just to say that, like, the only character that's really comparable is Soifon, but it's still different, because Soifon requires something of you. You know, she takes a bit of doing to get to, like, you know, one, you know, pressing my button here, she's not activating her battlefield skill, right? That's like a big thing. That comes with needing, obviously, a strike character. Strike characters do not have, there aren't very many good strike characters to just pop in, right? It really does just go back to how flawless and sort of efficient WIchigo is at getting not only his own damage in, but getting the damage of others in. And when I was making a list, just saying, and by the way, we can compare, by the way, no B1, no B2, you don't need B1. B1 should not be the entry level for characters being functional. I keep saying that. I don't really care if Bambietta feels better at B6. That's not the gate. That's not like the, that should not be the rubric, right? It's like, your character, I mean, by the way, this character's B0. I think this character is, like, insane. Even when he was bugged and everything, I was like, this character's smooth as hell. Like, this isn't, like... I'm glad that he got buffed. I'm glad that he got some fixes, but I always thought this girl was the problem. And again, I have her B2, and I think at this point, you need her at least B1 to make rotations feel feasible. But, so once we start getting to, like, oh, well, she still does damage if you have her B6, it's like, well, no fucking duh. No, duh, she does damage if you have her B6. Every character does damage if they have B6. Zaya Lapro does damage if we have him at B6, right? That's the point. That's what B6 is. So instead, when we talk about characters at a base level, I'm thinking of characters like WIchigo, characters like Mayuri, characters like Trushikai Ichigo, who really are stars without any dupes in them at all. Barring maybe core stamp dupes like Mayuri, where his core stamp is just a big power increase, but even then, I don't know. WIchigo just feels good to use. It's like it's a mechanical thing. It's not just rooted purely in this like idea of like, well, he just does more damage, so it feels nicer to use. Who cares? It's not about that. It's about smoothness. You know what I mean? It's about flow. It's about the way he weaves into rotations, essentially like a chameleon. Aizen used to feel like this, but that's not actually what was happening. Aizen was damage, right? Right? Like, it was just that, like, Aizen, even at B0, even at just B1, was just out damaging the game so firmly that prioritizing him felt good. But as other characters started to layer on top and make it harder for him to be the star of the show, it became more obvious that he could not do this. Now you could say, well, all you got to do is B1 him, all you got to do is boundary for him, and it's like, sure, but that's really just putting a band-aid and money on top of a problem, right? It's not emblematic of the character experience to just say, well, you just need B6 to make a character feel good. It's like, well, no, you don't need that. You shouldn't need that. Even though it's a gacha game, even though it's a mobile game, and they're trying to sell you copies of the character, there really shouldn't be a case for any character to only feel good once you've B4'd or B6'd them. At least to my knowledge up until now, B4 and B6 have just been mechanical or structural damage increases that are fun, but don't really define characters. There's no character here that's truly defined by having B6. Like, is it cool that she can throw 2 spears? Yeah, it is. It's fine. Is it cool that when you get this guy, he starts doing like the double shots or whatever? Like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool, but it's like that aspect of this character isn't important at all. It's cool for damage. Is it cool that this character makes it rain all the time if he's like, B6? Yeah, that's cool. But Okieta works without that. You know what I mean? They didn't release Okieta and people went, wow, Aizen really needs some help. They immediately went, damn, we got to get Aizen out of here. Like, he is weighing Okieta down. He is weighing our half anniversary headliner down, right? So in that way, I just feel like Inner Hollow Ichigo is just like a success by all accounts. I think he's just like, there's genuinely no team that I think doesn't want him if they could have him. Obviously they can. And this sort of goes back to the issue of like, oh, just make every character universal and it'll fix finesse. And it's like, well, not really. You know what I mean? Like, if you add a universal tactics character for Bambietta, but that character works like Aizen, it doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't. Like, and it's why I go back to, because like, it goes back to the idea that like Bambietta would be better undoubtedly she would flatly be better, but would she be more fun to play than Ichigo? Would she be more fun to play than, you know, Paulo Ichigo? Would she be more fun to play than Ulquieta? Would she be more fun to play than Grimjo or you know, Yoruichi or Gin? No, she'd still feel like fucking ass. Like, just increasing her numbers flatly. At some point you have to have like a greater conversation with yourselves about like, damage number go up versus is the character fun to play. And I was having that conversation several weeks ago at this point, where, you know, people are always very like they hammer in like, oh, I don't want the game to power creep too fast. And it's like, I just want the game to be fun. The numbers characters do, you know, it's cool, but it's more about, do they work, do they function, are they fun to mix and match together, you know? Is power creep that scary? It's not really. I mean, the game's been out like 8 months. Nothing's really happened to it. All of the characters who are still the best are still the best. Like, even if you like were to, because your power creep's an interesting thing where people talk about it a lot, but then you look at any of the lists or anything, and it's like nothing's happening because there's no content that has power creeped these characters. So the power creep is just, do my character do damage in training dummy? And it's like, yeah, I guess they do, right? But when you actually look at like the tier list, it's like, this is still an S tier character, 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 this is still an S tier, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. You know what I mean? Like in Dokkan Battle, if a character gets power creeped, that character might not actually be usable anymore. Whereas literally nothing is happening here. You know, none of the content actually informs the power creep. People just say power creep a lot, and they don't know what that fucking means. Because they think that, like, the characters dictate the power creep all the time, but it's more so the characters in response to content dictate power creep. A character, like, none of these characters have a realm in which is just, like, is actually, like, viable. Like, what are you gonna do? Power creep doing trial towers? We don't have content to power creep. All these modes are beatable easily, right? Like, so I don't know. It's people focus a lot on, well, what about Ichigo? You know, the thing about Ichigo is that he just hits hard. It's like, no. The thing about Ichigo is that he's the smoothest motherfucker in the game, bar none. This character is the Mayuri of tactics characters. You would fucking suck dick to get white Ichigo on your favorite team with like Ulquieta or Grimjo or something like that. This character slaps like shit, bro. And I hope, tie a little bow on this, when Yuryu and Candace come around, they you know, whichever one ends up being the tactics character for Ness, or for Ness rather, I hope that's what this character, or that's what that character ends up looking like, because there's just no beating the GOAT right now. There really isn't. He's the GOAT. He's really strong. He's really strong. He's really fun to play, and he makes everyone shine. His prolonged ultimate, his animations being quick and snappy. White Ichigo, I said it when he released, has continued to grow on me like a fucking vine, dude. I just think he's fun. I think he's a character I want to use whenever I'm online. Like whenever I get on Bleach Soul Resonance, I want to use that guy. You know, so yeah. Just a little yaps about a character that I think is going to sustain for quite a while. White Ichigo, the man you are. I hope you rerun. I hope you rerun, and anyone who missed you the first time could get you, especially if you joined during TYBW and maybe you weren't playing when he came out. So, yeah. I've been alone, though. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the club. We'll go make it end. Peace.